Hi Paul, thank you very much for agreeing to come and present at the Public Sector Roundtable. We know that Fife Council has done a lot of work around performance management and particularly around partnerships.
Yep.
So would you like to tell us a bit about your experience?
I'd like to start, I think, with looking at what we've been doing around scenario planning. We started this back in 2003, and it's allowed us to have a common set of objectives across all the public sector and the voluntary sector within Fife. One of the things that we've found through that, though, has been that working in partnership comes with its usual problems around accountability and responsibility for the work that we're actually doing. And so some of the recent developments that we've actually had are around actually making it clearer what the reporting lines are in terms of performance. And so we've moved to a situation from where we had lots of partnership activity that wasn't terribly aligned to an overall set of goals or vision, down to something that's much more managerial in terms of what we're actually trying to deliver. We now have, for each of the large outcome themes that we're trying to deliver, an accountable officer within each of the partners. So a senior person that's sitting at the top table within those organisations. So for example, in terms of environmental work that we're trying to do, the Council's Head of Environmental Services is responsible for that. And accountable then for actually bringing performance reports and making sure things are actually joining up from a partnerships perspective. Or from community safety, we use the Assistant Chief Constable, who's actually then coming to the table with chief executives, the Chief Constable herself and others to actually say, this is what we've actually achieved and this is what we're actually going to do in terms of the next stages.
So how does this work around partnerships and objectives have helped Fife move forward as a council?
I think some of the advantages that we've got is that we have the coterminous boundaries with the NHS in Fife, with the police and with a number of the other public sector organisations. Now that has been often seen as sort of the biggest advantage that Fife has. My own view is that if the working relationships between these people weren't actually positive, then we'd still actually struggle to have this sort of improvement that we've had in partnership working. I think the first thing that's really helped us is that the common dialogue that now happens between the senior folk within all the organisations, and this is the non-executive people as well as the executives, has allowed us to have a very clear sense of the direction we actually wanted to take Fife in. And again, back to this thing about actually understanding what the contribution of each of the partners was to actually delivering those objectives. So although you might actually have a number of different organisations trying to deliver against one particular objective, there's a level of clarity now about what they're actually bringing to the table and what they're actually delivering, which we didn't really have in the past.
Okay. So would you advise other councils to go through this process of partnerships and objectives and development of scenarios and so on?
Well, it's worked for us. Okay. The advantage that we've actually had through that is that you get a view of the future, or the possible futures that you can actually aim towards, and you can then start to actually look at, well, what are you trying to do at the moment, and what will you have to change in terms of actually making some of those parts of those possible futures actually happen. So that it's a long process, and folks shouldn't really underestimate the amount of effort that actually needs to go into it. But it's 7 years since we did the first set, and we're now going through the whole process again because folk have seen the benefit of it over that period of time. And for 7 years, there's been this continuous dialogue about what was strategically important to Fife and how, as a set of public sector and voluntary sector organisations, we actually delivered that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.